What we're here today to discuss is how brands are driving higher engagement and brand loyalty through rich mobile messaging, in particular, the growing opportunities with RCS for business, which you may or may not have heard of, and we'll go into that today. And we hope that this is a useful session. So with that, let's get started.
Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Good stuff. Now, the first thing I must say is look how happy this lady is in the video. That could be your customer if you start using RCS. Nice.
We hate to say it, but your customers aren't here. Or here. Or here. But we know where they are. Using personalized, two-way communication right in their native messaging app. Improve engagement, clicks, and conversions. Easier wins for your customers means more wins for you. And when your communication is secure and flexible, customers are more likely to reach out. So when they're searching for the latest styles, asking for suggestions, or ready to purchase, you'll be there. With RCS for Business, meet your customers anywhere.
Perfect. See, I told you she was happy. So just a little overview on what RCS is. I'm sure there's some level of familiarity across those online today. But essentially some of the features, the anatomy that sticks out immediately is the ability to have branding and verification. Huge work has been done by the mobile operators, Claudine representing O2 today, to ensure that this remains a very trusted and hygienic channel, pushing away spam, driving trust. And with that, ultimately, that just means that consumers have a much higher propensity to engage and less friction in relationship with brands. In terms of the upgrade from the former world, I think all of us as consumers are used to sharing files and pictures and videos, and that's exactly what this does, not just from me to friends, but from businesses to consumers. And that can be put on carousels and have buttons. And so not just intuitive and ease of engagement, but the ability for accessibility for all different types of demographic, making it very simple and an enhanced, rich, immersive way to communicate with brands. I'm just going to point out one other point, which is just on the right here. This is some of the Google products that are natively integrated to RCS. It works across both iOS and Google, so all handsets with around 75% coverage in the UK. End of the year, it's going to be around 85% or so, which actually just goes beyond WhatsApp. But when I think about RCS, I think kind of beyond it being just a messaging channel, I think about it being a node in which consumers are able to go through a trusted entry point and then have either a conversation through messaging or be able to add things to calendar or make a phone call or make a payment or add something to their loyalty card. And so as you look at this, we have discovery, where I can talk a little bit in a moment around different ways in which Google are helping brands to be discovered, find that moment of intent, and then be able to convert that in a mobile optimized manner. But when you go through, you can see, again, all of these opportunities, these clicks, these buttons, the simplicity. And with each one of these, this is something that brands are able to capture data and be able to use that for ongoing relevance, context, and personalization. And this obviously is a retail example, but we're working with banks and utility companies and airlines. And so where this is very retail focused, I was told 5 minutes, which is also why I'm speaking very quickly, trying to be respectful to that. But this gives you a good view of just how it's there, streamlined, ease of use, and why many consumers and brands for that reason are leaning in heavily towards it. And then the final thing I'll say is, the challenge for so many companies today is going, what do you do when you're looking at the crystal ball of data going, what's the right person, right channel, right time? And you're trying to load the dice as best possible to try and ensure that you've got a meaningful contextual message that's going to be driving value to your consumer. And all of those things data can help you with. But what we're trying to do at Google today is to provide further environments where if someone's to search for your brand or search for something where you come upon SEO, search engine optimization, if you have an advert on Google, all of these environments are going, someone at that moment in time has already said, we have intent and discovery, and we are able to take that person and help them convert in a mobile optimized flow like you've just seen. So let me stop sharing my screen and pass back to the others, but hopefully that gives you a little flavor as to why people are getting so excited about RCS, both businesses and consumers alike.
Okay. So just to sort of take a step back, Andy's given us a really visually compelling view of what RCS does and how you can benefit from a brand's perspective on that. Just want to take a step back and say messaging has been around for over 30 years, and SMS built the foundation because of its reach and simplicity. But what we're seeing now with RCS, as Andy has demonstrated in that really cool video, which I'm going to be stealing for future presentations, is the evolution of messaging from something frankly very functional into a channel that's fundamentally trusted, branded, and interactive. One of the biggest challenges in messaging, and I've worked in messaging for more years than I care to remember, but I'm coming, I'm midway through 20 plus years of this now. Consumers receive messages every day, but often the first question that they'll ask themselves is this actually my bank, or is this actually the courier? With traditional SMS, it hasn't always been clear. Sender IDs can sometimes be numeric. They can be short codes, long numbers, that they can also be branded, but there's quite little context to that. What RCS does is shift the messaging from more anonymous communication when it immediately lands to a verified agent communication. And that's the key inflection point. It moves us from the unknown sender to authenticated branded identity in your inbox. And that really is where trust starts to rebuild. The way I see it, there are 3 core trust pillars in RCS, which is that verified brand identity, and it's verified at network level. So if you're an O2 subscriber, it's O2 that's verifying that agent, and the agent goes through a full verification process carried out by us before it goes live. And what that means is that your brand is authenticated, that the permission to use the brand, the logo, the colors is all checked. And that's really powerful because the tick that you can see here on the Lyberate agent page has really become synonymous with trust, and it's a universal symbol of trust recognized across multiple digital channels. With RCS messaging, the message is delivered with that brand name and with the logo. So instead of a random number, consumers are seeing that recognizable brand presence directly in your native messaging app. And again, there's a bit of reassurance there to the consumer. It looks and feels like the brands I know and, more importantly, recognize. RCS also embeds trust through transparency. As you can see here on this page, and you will see in the case studies that I will share with you in a minute, there are links to the brand contact details, privacy policies, and terms of service. The messages offer full receipting, and the consumer knows not only who is messaging, but has that ability to seek the additional information and just get that extra layer of reassurance. I've glitched on how to move the screen forward, bear with me. Now, this is the first example that I have of how O2 UK have used it. But just to continue, that finally a word on RCS introduces two-way conversational messaging. The read receipts, suggested replies, and buttons and actions that we saw in Andy's presentation now are really, really powerful. There's much evidence to say tap over type is where consumers want to be. And it transforms messaging from a broadcast channel into a trusted interaction. Because when a customer can respond, question, or take action instantly, the experience becomes more human, more accountable, and ultimately more trusted. Why does it matter? Well, for consumers, the benefits are simple and powerful: confidence in who they're talking to, safer interactions with a reduced risk of fraud, the ability to take that action instantly within that trusted environment, and it removes friction and uncertainty. Now, from a brand perspective, the trust directly translates into performance: higher engagement rates, higher read rates, and stronger interactions. In the examples that you can see here, we saw a 3 times higher click rate than we did on SMS. Sorry, I'm trying to rush, which is why I'm stumbling slightly. one of the most important things from my point of view is this not only protects consumers, but it protects brand reputation, which is critical in the market in which we currently operate, all of us. So in this example here, RCS was used by O2 UK to allow the customer to choose how to view key information. Again, we saw over 64% delivery rate, which actually represented 3 times higher than SMS. To really unlock the value, brands need to think differently about messaging and lead with trust signals. Use verified sender profiles and ensure that branding is consistent and recognizable, and also to be purposeful, focus on the high value moments, whether it's delivery updates, fraud alerts, or customer service. Avoid overusing the channel, use it wisely, but use all the functionality that it's there. Design for interaction, use those buttons, suggested replies and journeys, and let that customer choose what to do next. Treat messaging as a customer experience channel, not just a simple campaign tool. Because ultimately that is where long-term trust is built. So in summary, and I don't know how we're doing for time, RCS rebuilds trust by combining the agent verification, which is controlled by the networks. In the UK, as I said, O2 verifies for O2 consumers. Branding and conversation, and it delivers it all directly within the native messaging inbox, and it gives consumers the confidence, and it gives brands credibility, and ultimately it transforms messaging into a trusted engagement channel at scale. Thank you. I hope I haven't gone over.
Thank you, Claudine. That was great. I think one thing's worth recapping. Both Claudine and Andy have mentioned this, but what this is, so we're so entrenched within this industry and these technologies, but RCS, Rich Communication Service, again, just to recap, what it does is it sits on top of SMS, so it's in the SMS application. If I can use these words on this call, Claudine and Andy will probably hate me for it, but it's almost like a WhatsApp equivalent, but in the business context. So I think it's just really important just to explain what that is. It's almost like going from a letter to an email, as I see it, or from the old 2G network on your mobile phone to 5G or 6G. This is like going from SMS to the next generation, which is RCS. So I just wanted to make that clear what RCS is. And as the guys have explained there, it offers so much more than SMS does today. But it's not really, it's difficult to compare it against SMS. It is more what you see, I think, within the social media world, when you see tweets or posts on things like Instagram. Is very much of that ilk. So it takes us into that new dimension of rich media. So if I can just take you through a couple of slides from my side, and hopefully you can all see that. So the problem here, and this is why we did what we did at Lyberate, and why RCS exists, just to really kind of boil it down, that we see business communication as almost broken. It has very, very low engagement from a business like yours trying to connect with your customers or your customers' customers. We see email, calls, even LinkedIn, websites, very, very, very low engagement. And secondly, if we haven't already confused you today, it is very complicated world. So what we did at Lyberate was try to really take the complexity in the back end, in the technology that we've built, and really simplified it for businesses to actually use these capabilities such as RCS. As I'm sure you know, with a lot of CRM platforms, it just needs a lot of experience, a lot of training, a lot of people involved to do these things. And that's what we've done, is to try and really take away the complexity, but focus on RCS, which is a really high engagement channel. And just to kind of put that into context, so we've worked with a number of brands, and typically this is what we're seeing. So when we compare sending a message on RCS to email, we're seeing 22 times higher engagement. And I'll just let that settle for a bit while I flick to the next slide. So what we've also done at Lyberate is, as I say, to look at it, use the new primary channels like RCS to really focus on increasing the engagement, but also we're aware that marketing people, sales people who would be using these types of technologies are spending an enormous amount of time on the execution part, and that's setting up the campaigns, and less about kind of thinking about the business and the strategy. And what we're trying to do here at Lyberate is flip that narrative. What we're trying to do is to have the execution layer being 20% and have marketing people, salespeople focus more on strategy, customer engagement, and doing the things that we think that you should be doing as humans. So again, what we're moving from is this traditional engagement on things like email across to rich channels. And in the RCS world, it's the rich content. You don't get spam in there, or things don't get caught up in spam filters. And as Claudine in particular mentioned, it's verified. You have a shield, you have a tick against it as your brand, and anybody receiving that message knows that it 100% comes from you. It cannot be spoofed. So this is just a very quick look at Lyberate. We've very much kind of gone down the AI route in terms of the automation. This is just the front page of our website where you'll be familiar with ChatGPT and what that looks like. You enter information in and it produces a result. So in this case, what we're doing is completely focusing on putting together a campaign or putting together a rich communication. I'm aware we're slightly behind time, so I'm going to go through this very quickly. So this is just a quick example. We're in the Lyberate platform now. We're going to ask it to put a campaign together for us. We are Coca-Cola. We're wanting to advertise the World Cup 2026, and I'm going to give it a URL to focus on. Now, we send that into Lyberate. Lyberate's thought about it. In a few seconds, it produces an RCS message. So it's got an image, it's got call to action, click buttons, and it's got some text in there. Now, when I did this first off, I didn't feel like that was good enough. So what I did was, as a marketing person at Coca-Cola, I've got some much better images than what you've created me. So I'm talking to the platform, I'm updating a new image, and I'm saying, okay, use this image and put that into the platform. It's done that. The next thing is I'm telling the robot, if you like, or Lyberate, now keep the original, but add these other pieces of collateral in that I've created as a marketing person, and let's build a whole campaign around it. So I'm feeding more information into the system. And then what Lyberate's doing automatically, it's creating an optimized and a verified RCS message or campaign. And it's also putting together a schedule. So here what it's suggesting that we do based on previous campaigns that we've run through the platform and knowledge that it has, it's suggesting that for this campaign, we run 3 messages over this time period, and we use the different types of collateral that you've seen us upload. And again, this is just a really, really quick kind of few second run through just to show you what the platform does. Once you're happy with the schedule that it's created, and it's done that in minutes, it doesn't need to take days or weeks to do that, you can then schedule the campaign. So you select your group, you select who you want that to go to, you do your segmentation, and then you schedule it. And again, the bot is pretty much doing all that for you. Once you've done that, once you've executed your RCS messages, you come back into the platform and you get all the fairly generic and a bit more kind of insights that you would get from running that campaign. We're trying to look at it from a revenue perspective so that you can understand the monetization value of executing these campaigns. And there's a huge amount of information that you can find through the platform. And the other thing that we do beyond that is we make suggestions about products, we make recommendations with what you should do, and we put together an optimization plan for next time. So if you're doing something similar next time, that's fully planned out for you and automated in the platform. Just to finish off from me with a quick case study. So this is one that we ran for organization, which is the MEF, a big events organization in Barcelona. and they ran a number of campaigns a bit earlier on this year. And this was where one of the 22Xs came from. So they saw 22 times higher engagement with running RCS type campaigns compared to email, for example. They had very high click-through rates on the messages. So it's a very, very high engaging channel. And it's also verified so that somebody knows it is 100% coming from you, unlike an email and potentially other channels. Just to finish off, these were just some quotes that we got, and that is all of the slides that I've got to share with you today. And I think we're kind of running up against time now, or we've slightly gone over by 1 minute, and I appreciate for those of you that have stuck around. I think we will need to close it there. If there are any questions, then please do drop those in the chat. Contact myself, Claudine, or Andy separately, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. So Claudine, Andy, thank you very much for joining me today on this webinar. Hopefully everybody got something from this, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.